Okay, so tell me what's been going on in your swing. You said that you've been topping it. What's been going on?
Yeah, I just keep topping it, and I'm just really trying to keep my head down, right? My husband told me that, and my buddy. So I'm really just trying to make sure that I keep my head down through the whole swing, but I'm still topping it.
Interesting. So do you think that keeping your head down should help?
Yeah, I must just not be doing it enough because I just know I'm lifting my head when I come through.
Interesting. Are you one of these golfers who are topping the ball and you keep trying to keep your head down? For the love of Piglet, let's stop, okay? That is the worst thing you can possibly do for your golf swing. And honestly, it's gonna make you top the ball even more. Okay, so make sure you stay tuned and we'll get you to stop topping the ball the correct way. Okay, so no offense to your friends, your spouses who are telling you to keep your head down. I'm sure that they have the best of intentions, but they are unknowingly teaching you something that is detrimentally harmful for your golf swing. Okay, so we're gonna start this video by forcing ourselves to completely lose the thought of trying to keep our head down in the golf swing. Can we do that? Okay, perfect. Okay, so if we're not trying to keep our head down, then what the heck do we do to stop topping the golf ball? Really, because there's nothing more frustrating than swinging with speed and seeing your ball just dribble along the ground 10 feet in front of you. Okay, so technically, right, when we're topping the ball, we are literally hitting the top part of the golf ball, right? That club is working up, hitting too high up on the golf ball. We can have varying degrees of tops, right? But that club is not hitting the ball high up on the face. So in order to change that, one, we need to make sure that we have the right concept of what we're trying to do. I find that a lot of golfers are doing what they're trying to do, but what they're trying to do is the wrong thing, AKA keeping their head down, okay? So it's super important to know that with our irons, that we need this club to land on the ground, okay? And we need it to land it on the ground after the golf ball. We need that lowest point of our swing circle to be after the golf ball. So we're trying to hit the ball first, then brush the ground before the club works back up into the follow through. And typically the main reasons that I see that this does not happen if you're topping the golf ball is because of one of two things. Okay, so these two things must happen in order to brush the ground and brush the ground in front of the golf ball. So the first thing that has to happen is if at address we're here and the club is behind the golf ball, and at impact we're trying to brush the golf ball more forward, we have to have our weight and our pressure more forward at impact. We have to. It's just imperative, okay? So we have to get that pressure forward at impact soon enough, right? Sometimes we might be here, hit the ball, and then we might end up on our front foot, but we need to have that pressure forward at the moment of impact. So I like to think about like at least 90% of that pressure on that lead foot at the moment that that club is striking the golf ball, okay? That is imperative rule number one. The second thing that must happen is we have to keep the length of our arms. We have to maintain this radius of the club to the ground. So when we're set up, our arms are roughly straight, that club is touching the ground. So anything that we're doing to shorten our arms, shorten that radius of the club to the ground, the club is not gonna be low enough to touch the ground. Okay, so we have to keep the length of our arms straight through at least this point in our follow through in order for that club to maintain its radius to stay low enough to brush the ground. So weight forward and arms straight, we're going to brush the ground in that same spot every single time. Okay, seems really simple. So I'm gonna give you a couple drills to work on this, okay? So the first thing is we're gonna take away the golf ball, right? Because if we can't do it without the golf ball, it's silly to think that if the golf ball gets there, we're gonna be able to do it. So all you need is 2 golf tees, okay? So we're gonna make a little gate here, okay? So I'm gonna make a little gate and we're gonna pretend like the golf ball would be sitting right in between these 2 tees. So the tees are just a point of reference so that I have a point of reference when I come through, if that club is brushing the ground, since the golf ball is not there, if I'm brushing the ground in the correct spot, okay? So we're gonna start off with some really small swings. So if I do this correctly, I should be brushing the ground on the forward side, on the target side of these golf tees. And again, in order for this to happen, I have to have my weight more forward and arm straight. So what I would do is I would start off with a teeny tiny swing, right? Okay, we're just gonna feel like we're chipping it 5 yards in front of us. So you can even start with a little bit more pressure forward here if we want. So just really small swings here. So just barely taking it back, not even a foot. Coming through, weights forward, arms straight. Okay, if you can do that 5 times in a row, all right, that's easy, cool. Okay, now we're gonna take the club back a little bit further. So maybe we take it back like waist high to waist high. Okay, and again, you can see I'm consistently brushing the ground after the golf ball. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to hit the ground. I find with so many of my students, especially women, they're afraid to hit the ground. They're afraid they're gonna hurt their grass. They're afraid they're gonna hurt themselves. Okay, so one, anywhere that you go where you're playing golf and there's grass, they have people that they pay and hire to help fix the grass. So they need a job. So it's okay to hit the ground, okay? And then the second thing, if you're worried about hurting yourself, when we're hitting the ground, I'm not asking you to chop down, okay? I just need like a little buzz haircut, okay? We're striking a match, you just need a little nice little tight buzz haircut, kind of one on that razor if you're getting a buzz, right? Just bruising the ground, but we have to make contact with the ground and we have to get comfortable with making contact with the ground, or else you're never going to compress the golf ball and hit those really solid shots that go high and far, okay? So if we get to waist high and we struggle to hit the ground, okay, we're gonna go back to step one, okay? Where we just go real small. Okay, then once we can do it waist high to waist high, 5 times in a row, now we can go back a little bit further. And at some point, as you lengthen your backswing, you're probably gonna find that your consistency with brushing the ground gets less, okay? And that's fine, so just go back a level and work back up and just make sure that those 2 things are happening that we talked about, that our weight is getting forward soon enough and that the arms are staying long through impact, okay? So we should get to the point where we can take a full swing and brush that ground consistently after those tees. Okay, once we feel like we are able to do that, now we can put the golf ball there. Because again, if we sit here and we don't brush the ground at all, if we put the golf ball there, we're gonna be super disappointed with our results. We're gonna get even more frustrated. So by taking away the golf ball, we don't have to worry about results of what the ball is doing. We're just focused on what we need this club doing through impact, which is brushing that ground after the golf ball. Okay, so now we're gonna put the golf ball here and we're gonna add in another tee, right? So I'm gonna put this ball in a really low tee here. Okay, just like if I was teeing the ball up on a par 3. So that tee is underneath the golf ball. If my club hits that tee coming through, I can't physically top the golf ball, right? If my club hits that tee, which is underneath the golf ball, I can't physically top the golf ball. So my one intention here is I'm gonna try to clip that tee or even hit it out of the ground. Okay, if that is my mindset, that is my intention, just athletically, I'm just trying to hit that tee out of the ground. If I do that, I cannot top the golf ball. Simple as that, okay? So I'm gonna try to do the same things that I was doing without the golf ball. I'm trying to make sure I'm gonna get my weight forward, keep my arms straight, and I'm gonna try to clip this tee out of the ground. Okay, solid shot. My divot was after my tee gate and my tee came out of the ground. Okay, so really simple. Now, you might hit some shots where the tee stays still and you're like, oh, I didn't top it, like it went pretty good. But you have to remember that you're giving yourself that extra little cushion above the grass. So if the ball is actually sitting on the ground and you didn't touch the tee, that shot probably would not have looked as good. It would have probably been a little bit more toppy or a little bit lower. And that tee just helps you out a little bit. Okay, so it's important that we clip the tee. And it's okay if it doesn't completely fly out of the ground, but that tee needs to move in the turf for us to consider that a success with this drill. So I'll do one more here. Again, make sure I'm getting the weight forward, arms straight, and gonna clip this tee out of the ground. Okay, 2 in a row. Divot, tee, came out. Okay, so really, really good drill. You can add a layer to this if you want, especially if you're still struggling, to give you a focal point. Because again, the goal of doing these drills is to come up with a feel that we can take to the golf course, right? So obviously if we're playing by the rules of golf, unless we're on a par 3, we can't tee up the golf ball. But again, really good drill, really good feel. And then when we are on the golf course and we can't tee the ball up, we can use our imaginations, right? I don't care how old you are, we still have an imagination, and we can pretend like that ball is still sitting on a low tee, and our intention is to hit that imaginary tee out of the ground. Okay, the other thing that we can do is we can take the ball off the tee, because if you're like, oh, well, the ball's on the tee, like that makes it easy. Okay, makes it easier, but we still are working on something. You can also put a tee just a couple inches in front of your golf ball. Okay, I would say that's probably like 2 inches in front of my golf ball, 2 to 3 inches. Because again, if I do this correctly and I come down and brush that ground after the ball, my club should clip that tee that is a couple inches in front of the golf ball. If I top it and that club is working more up through impact, that club is never gonna work down far enough to clip that tee. So just by having this visual, so my ball is now sitting flat on the grass. Okay, I've got this tee here just as a reference point that I'm gonna focus on. I find a lot of you out there focus on the back of the golf ball. And if that works, if you look there and you're taking divots after the golf ball, that's great. But if you're consistently topping it, we should probably try to change our focus from being behind the golf ball to being ahead of the golf ball, because that's the ground that we want to brush, right? The club is going to pass through hitting the back of the golf ball, but we need this club to land a couple inches in front and clip that tee, okay? So now, again, same thing, arm straight, weight forward, but my eyes are gonna focus on this tee, which should just athletically get me moving left and wanting to keep my arm straight enough so that I can make contact that couple of inches in front of the golf ball. Okay, so focus on the tee. There we go. So divot after, and the tee came out. So just a couple of drills that you can do, right? But we're gonna start without the golf ball with the tee gate. Then we can put the ball on a low tee and try to clip the tee out. And then we can go graduate from the ball being on the tee to it sitting on the ground. And then we just have that tee a couple inches in front, trying to clip that tee out in front. And then when you're on the golf course, guess what? We can still focus on a blade of grass or a divot or a brown piece of dirt, something a couple of inches ahead that mimics the same drill when that tee is in the ground. So our goal of any drill is to come up with feels that we can then take to the golf course, okay? So give these drills a try. Let me know if it works for you. And for goodness sakes, stop keeping your head down. Okay, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful for you. And if you'd like to work with me a little bit more one-on-one individually, we can do so through the Skillest app, and I'll put that link down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.